Hello, everyone. Welcome to Lectora Live, your inside track into Lectora. I'm Rick Zanotti, and here we go. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Lectora Live. I have been a longtime fan of Trivantis and Lectora pretty much since I think about version 5 or 6. This is right around 2006, and so almost a decade of working with the product, happy with the product. Actually, you know, in the e-learning community, we all like to spend a lot of time just bitching and moaning about products. I don't like this, I don't like that. This is one of the few products, I know internally we work with almost all the products that we never complain about. Now, that's something in this industry. It's fairly bug-free, it works, it doesn't really stop us from doing what we want to do. And we had an opportunity to do this show because we really like the product and the people behind the product. And today I want to introduce you to someone that we've had interviews with before on our eLearn chat show. And his name is John Blackmon. And let me get him in here. Hey, John, how are you?
Hey, how you doing, Rick?
I'm doing great. And John, you are the Chief Technology Officer for Trivantis. You're the guy responsible for this product. And I want to talk a little bit about your past, too, because this is one thing. Now, this is my inner geek coming out, because I was, from the beginning, a PC programmer. This is back early 80s. And then when Windows came out, before Windows, there was OS/2 from IBM. And you were one of the architects of OS/2.
I was. I actually have a patent on some of the design of OS/2 hanging on the wall over there. You can't see it, but yeah, I worked at IBM for a number of years on the OS/2 project. Actually left there and started doing a software company based on products for OS/2, which at the time was a great operating system compared to everything out there.
It was.
But, eventually did dwindle down, and had to figure out something else to do.
Yeah, and it's a shame because OS/2 is actually probably, even in today's day and age, maybe better than Windows.
Oh,
in those days, it was definitely better than Windows. I mean, Windows NT was the first effort trying to become as good as OS/2. They never quite got there. OS/2 was clean, and you protected the kernel, which, well, let's not get into tech talk, but all the good stuff. But anyway, I'm putting that in perspective because that gives people, especially if you've been out there for a while, it gives people an idea of the quality and really workmanship that goes into building good software. We're not talking about just building software and throwing it out and going, there, what do you think? We're talking about good software and software that works, that you don't have to constantly do workarounds because of bugs, and software that just is a pleasure to work with. And so kudos to you, John. I was doing some test shots before I sent it off to Laura Silver at Trivantis, and they were just me musing. It's a Friday night. I had nothing to do, and I said, let me test out some of the shots. I don't know if you ever saw any of these, but I had a kind of an ongoing theme in all of them. This was written by John Black. Where is John Blackmon? Where has he gone? He's gone where all the intelligent people have gone. He's left, but he's left us a gift. It was Lectora. So I just kind of went on and created my own little Atlas Shrugged story with you as the protagonist. So I thought that was fun. But I'm not sure they knew what I was talking about. They probably went, he's a little insane, but we'll let him slide on it. But it was fun, and we were just having a good time with it. Now, just tell me, just out of curiosity, how did Lectora start? What motivated you to really get involved in the e-learning world, which is very different from what you did before?
Right, it was. Well, we actually started out doing a college search engine called College View, and that really got us, involved in the education market. It was really for students in high schools to be able to find the college. And then that went on for a little while, and then we realized we had to kind of figure out what we wanted to do as we grew up. And this is the pre-internet days, really. Yeah. And we started some other companies that did some similar things, and then finally, we realized that the education market, we had a lot of contacts in education, and the education market was growing. So in 1999, we founded Trivantis, and the idea was, originally we were looked at doing a learning management system, but then there were a lot of those out there at that time, and we saw that there was actually no standardized way other than hand coding to create content for all these courses, and the world was going online with courses. So we said, hey, this is it. We actually need to, create an authoring tool, and that's going to be what we do. And so in 1999, we started and came out with the first product in 2000. It was actually called, we were starting to call it, a little bit of history here. It was going to be called Athena.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Athena, the goddess of wisdom and knowledge.
Yes.
Could not get Athena.com to save our lives, so we gave up on that name and had to call it Lectora. But still, the code name for the product and everything under the covers is still Athena. And
interesting. Huh.
Interestingly, a lot of people have asked this question, so I figured I'd throw this out here. So when you create a file in Lectora, it is an AWT file.
Right.
AWT is an Athena Windows title. So that's
I always wondered why it was an AWT file.
AWT. So there you go. It's Athena. And we actually have a statue of Athena out in the office. It was way too heavy to drag in here. I wasn't going to drag it in. We do have a statue of Athena in the office.
That's pretty good.
I actually brought in the room, my room is not normally have all these boxes in here, but I brought in a few items here that I thought were of interest. We're talking about Lectora. We have all of the packaging that we've done over the years for Lectora. For those that have been around a while, you remember the lunch pails. We've had those.
Yeah, we used to get those.
So we started lunch pails started in 2001. So all the way over on the side, we have 2001, we moved on all the way through. Here's an interesting. These right here around the 2002 time frame, we actually created Lectora that published to the Pocket PC and Palm OS. I bet now there's one that I don't know. Yeah, that was way ahead of its time.
That was probably right around 2001, maybe 2000.
2001 was when we began writing it. We released it as a product, I think, in 2002. And
the Pocket PC was actually a pretty cool platform back when. It was. I had about 3 or 4 of them throughout the years, and never had a Palm. Well, I did have one Palm, but I had the Pocket PCs. And we did, back around 2002, our first mobile learning project. It was a sales project. And people were going, what is that? It's a Pocket PC, and it's also a phone. Why would you want that?
Mobile learning, I know. And we had it back in the day, and it went okay, but then eventually the market kind of died out for Pocket PC and Palm OS for that matter. Yep. So kind of moved on from those products.
Yeah, who would have thought? And now we're back to some smartphones.
Yeah, it's funny.
Which are in essence Pocket PCs and Palm Pilot. I mean, there's really not much difference between a Pocket PC and a smartphone.
I know, well, except the Pocket PC was pretty big and pretty bulky and hard to carry around.
Have you seen my phone?
Okay.
Let me see. I've got a Note 4, which is about the size of my last Pocket PC.
Right. Okay.
Maybe not as heavy, but real close. And before that, I had an HTC One Max, which was actually bigger than this one. That was almost a 6-inch phone, and so yeah, I still like that size. I have big hands, so it doesn't bother me. But it is funny. We're back to square one.
Right.
It's going retro. I'm actually waiting for DOS to come back and forget Windows. It just never worked that well anyway. But yeah, interesting.
Then following on the history, I think I thought for a little while. We actually released a software development kit for Lectora back in the day, and that didn't really get a lot of traction. But I brought all the packaging up to X, and now, of course, there's no packaging for software anymore. So no more lunch pails, unfortunately.
Right.
But I did bring in the actual Lectora surfboard. Some people ask about the surfboard logo that we have. It did start with an actual Lectora surfboard.
Yeah, you used to send out the USB thumb drives that looked like that surfboard.
Yeah.
And they were fun, and they work. I forgot what they were. They were X number of megabytes, but maybe 100. I don't remember what it was, but they were cool, and they worked.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And then they were fun to carry around. Nice form factor. It was good stuff.
Oh, that's fun. It's interesting because Lectora originally was, I would say it was a simpler tool in terms of it was a first version. It didn't do everything that you do now. Now you guys do everything, which is just pretty amazing. What was the original purpose of building Lectora? Because it was an e-learning tool, but it could also be a web development tool. It really had a lot of different purposes which nobody else had, because you folks, in essence, were a code generator. You generated HTML.
Right. And no one was generating HTML at that time. They were developing their own formats, and then eventually became Flash. We were still the only game in town that did HTML.
Yeah, and who would have thought? Look what happened to Flash.
Yeah.
It's really interesting, and that's only through Adobe's neglect that they lose the most ubiquitous player on Earth, and of course Apple going after them for whatever reason. Right. But HTML was an interesting choice because it was really it had only been really around, what, about 4 or 5 years of serious web development work? I guess 94, 95 is when HTML started really coming into its own.
Right. And at that time, we were dealing with just the HTML4 had just started out and was just getting support for browsers. So we were working with IE4 and Netscape 4 at the time.
Yeah.
So that, let me tell you, that's a challenge.
Yeah.
Not easy to work with. So, but we were able to do it, and we got a lot of, depended on HTML4. So we had, at the beginning when we came out, we had complaints, but it doesn't work on IE3. Can you imagine?
And I'm sure there's some large Fortune 500 that's still running IE3 somewhere.
I hope
Actually, we got hit by that once. This is a project about 3-4 years ago. IE, I think 8 was already out. Most people were on 8. Anyway, they were on IE6. And this was a Lectora project, and it looked great. We get to do a demo. We go into their conference room, big pharmaceutical company. We run it, nothing works. And we're like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And usually we ask questions like this. In this case, because of the company, we knew people, we never even thought of asking what browser are you with.
Right.
Top notch, very modern company, futuristic buildings, you name it, IE6. So nothing quite worked right. However, your support team did come to the rescue. They gave us a snippet of about 5 lines of code, fixed it.
There you go.
Fixed it. I mean, my heart actually, I think I aged 5 years in that conference room meeting. It was like, no, this can't, it works beautifully. I mean, there were big gaps on the screen. Things just weren't placed right. And we went, what happened? IE6, the specter of the ghostly specter of IE6 as it came to destroy us. But you guys had it. You knew exactly what it was. Code in place. 1 minute later, everything's working again.
These days, it's IE8 seems to be the one that's still around. A lot of corporations are still on IE8.
Yep.
And we have to support it. I mean, we have no choice in the matter. So time is spent working.
Fortunately, IT departments are starting to move up a little bit. And I think because they have no choice. And that's a good thing because the newer versions of IE are actually pretty good. Chrome still has some issues, but works pretty well. Firefox works pretty well. And because you guys are on that HTML platform, which I think was brilliant. At the time, I didn't think much of it. I went, HTML? Interesting. But it wound up being a brilliant thing because obviously you knew mobile was coming. And, having an HTML-based solution immediately makes you mobile.
Right. It was the one thing we had. We were always mobile. And so as soon as the iPhone came out, as soon as the Android devices came out, we ran just fine on it.
Yeah, that's great. And it does run well. What made you choose HTML5, or actually, I'm sorry, HTML back in the beginning as your platform of choice?
At that point, as Netscape was the big player coming out and was really making some noise in the industry. And there was a lot of talk. We did our research on it for sure. And there was a lot of talk about HTML and the future of HTML and that everything was going that way. And so it was very much a conscious decision, which was a tough one at the time because there really wasn't enough support for it. And in the older browsers, Netscape 3, IE3 had serious incompatibilities with dynamic HTML. But we decided that that's the future, and we were going to, this was a long-term play, and that's where we wanted to be.
That's great. That was a good choice.
Yeah.
It was a really good choice. Now, originally, when you came up with Lectora, what was your vision for creating an e-learning tool, especially back in those days? Even though e-learning's been around a long time, I hear all the time it's a new industry. It's not that new. It's been here since pretty much the late 70s, but obviously in very different incarnations. But what made you choose, of all things, the HTML and your goal of making e-learning in terms of a product that was web-based?
Well, so, we had worked when we did things with College View. We had worked with a lot of the development tools at that time to create things that similar to e-learning, right, in a lot of different ways. And it was very painful. I mean, it was a lot of work to create these things. There ended up being a lot of hand coding, a lot of things that you had to work with. So we were, initially users, but more technical than that, but creators of that kind of content. And so we kind of knew what we needed to create those things. At that time we were creating, college videos and walkthroughs and tours and different things, which was very similar to e-learning kind of content. And so we knew what we needed to do, and we knew how we would want it done, and that's why we created it. And then the HTML platform was just technically the way to go. It
made sense. It actually, at the time, I didn't really see HTML. I thought it was still emerging, and it was in a lot of ways. But HTML4 was solid. and
Yeah.
it was a standard. It lasted for quite a while. And in recent years, you've moved. It's been a while now. You've had elements and bits and pieces of HTML5, which is such a buzzword out there. I don't know how you feel about it, but to me, I mean, HTML5 is really a set of libraries more than anything else that allow you to run HTML with more capabilities.
Right. Right. I mean, really, the way we've adopted it is a little at a time, because the browser support is kind of haphazard, even among Firefox and Chrome, although it's pretty solid now. But throughout the years, they would support this piece, but not the other piece, or this piece and not the other piece. So you had to be very careful, and you always had to have fallback to fall back to HTML4. So we put it in a piece at a time, and we're still putting in a piece at a time. Obviously, you need it to run on mobile at all times, because you're never going to have support for media without it. So there's it's just you always have to put it there, but then have fallback to the way to go.
Sure. And it does work well. I know you've added a lot of functionality with some of the HTML5, with the transitions and routines and everything else that you're doing. At what point did you have that aha moment when you went, hey, we got a pretty good product here, that this is going to go somewhere?
I think that happened right away. I mean, so, creating Lectora, looking at the tools of the time. I mean, I prototyped Lectora really kind of sitting in a room by myself, and came up with this prototype, and then actually created a few things with it, and was like, oh my god, it's really pretty easy to do. Even back in the day, we had the concept of inheritance. You put something at the title level, it's on every page, you don't have to repeat it.
Right.
Very different than the authoring that was available at the time, and so it became very powerful very quick.
No, it's interesting. A lot of people, and we've been doing, like I said, Lectora almost a decade now. I hear this a lot, and I'm still a little bit mind-boggled by it. A lot of people say, well, Lectora is difficult to use, or it's complex. I don't think it's that difficult. I think Lectora is actually one of the easiest tools to use, and here's one reason. It's straightforward. If you know if you're an instructional designer and you understand writing, you've got your chapters, your sections, and your pages. That's pretty straightforward. It's hard not to visualize how that works. If you're a PowerPoint person, that kind of fits along the same model of PowerPoint, what you could do with it. There's so much capability inside of Lectora that if you want to keep it simple, that's easy. If you want to go more complex, it's surprisingly easy what you can do with not a lot of effort. And that's why, I don't know if it's a myth propagated by other vendors or what, but I've heard that a lot. Lectora is difficult. It's complex. I think it's the tool we came up to speed with quicker than just about any other tool. And we're not talking just the more advanced us in here, for example, who were programmers before. I'm talking about the production people who can put things together quickly. They don't really have a problem. It's easy to lay stuff out. It's easy to mock things up. Once you get the hang of, which doesn't take long at all, the idea of a global or title area, man, that's so powerful and yet easy. What do you think the concept of hard came from?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you, but then again, I might be somewhat biased. So it's entirely possible that I could be biased, but I'm not sure. I think that may have come from we maintained the old interface, the old Windows interface, for quite a while before we moved over to a ribbon interface. Maybe it came from there, but I mean, that's many years ago. That's 4 years ago or so, and so we've had it for quite a while. So I don't know if it stemmed from that or where it stems from. Certainly, if you use Lectora today, I know no one could consider it hard to use. I mean, it has everything. It works in the same way that all modern applications work today. I would expect people would find it easier to use. I certainly find it easier to use, but again, I am a little biased. Yeah,
no, seriously, you have a right to be biased, but honestly, it's not that hard. And what I find is, here's a big difference between Lectora and a lot of the other tools. In most of the other tools, and I'll leave them unnamed. They know who they are. They're very buggy. There's a lot of bugs in the tools. You spend your time doing workarounds. So maybe a tool is easy up front, but then you start working on it, it's not that easy. Because it's a lot harder to figure a workaround to something that should work than it is to just have it work. And even some of the quote-unquote very popular tools right now with a lot of buzz, I hate to say it, but they're getting buggier. I have some of these tools, and we've been using them, and we have encountered a lot of bugs, especially in areas of navigation. I'm going, we have never, ever had a navigation issue in Lectora at all. It's perfect. It just works. Not to mention, we consider Lectora the biggest container. You could put garbage in Lectora and you guys run it. It doesn't matter. It's a perfect container for content.
Right.
And it doesn't matter. I don't think we've run into any real content we weren't able to run. If it wasn't web-based, maybe, but we could run Flash, we can run movies, we can run, and just about, you're not limited to an MP4, or you can run anything. If it fits in a piece and you can run it and launch it, it works.
Well, a lot of times you'll see our competitor tools used to create things like simulations, but then you can contain those inside a Lectora title.
I do that all the time. We've done a lot of pieces where we have a Lectora kind of container holder, and there's some soft skills part of that in Lectora, and then we have a lot of simulations built right into it, and they work fine. It works, and people don't even realize we've switched out of Lectora into another tool. They still think we're kind of in that same framework, and it's very seamless. We've done that a lot with Captivate and with other things, and it works beautifully inside Lectora. So Lectora does a very good job containing it and also talking to the Flash player if we need to. And we rarely do, but if you need to do anything specific, you've got that built into it too, so you have access to the Flash, not components, but just
runtime. You can actually
exactly, the Flash runtime variables and parameters, which, believe it or not, sometimes that comes in really handy. If you need to stop something, you need to do something, start it over, jump somewhere, you've got total control without having to be a Flash programmer, which is also good because that could be a real pain too. ActionScript's never been one of my favorite languages. It's like, really? It's okay. It's just kind of reverse. I have to think backwards when I do ActionScript. It's like,
don't worry, it's going away.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Now, did you guys write, this is a little more techie, but just out of curiosity, did you write it in Visual C++?
Yes, I actually did. So it is all, and still today, is mostly, there's a lot of other things in it, but mostly Visual C++.
Yeah, now guys like me who've been around for a while, I'm a little bit older, I remember code generators. I loved code generators. When I was working as a programmer, then systems analyst, I was VP of IT in several corporations. The program generators I enjoyed, one, because they wrote the code for you, but two, because if you really need to, you can get into that code and modify it. And Lectora is really no different from that, because the HTML you generate, you have entry and exit points all over the place where you could put things in.
Yes. Yeah, and that's the idea. We allow that freedom to do that. You don't have to. You don't want to. It works pretty well. But if you want to get in there and let your inner geek fly, you can just let your inner geek fly and go in there and change whatever you want.
Yeah, and it's nice because at that point usually, and you kind of protect them. I mean, people can still mess themselves up, but for the most part, they're protected. If they create a problem, it's usually in the routine they inputted, rather than the rest of the code. So that's actually a good thing. As Lectora's evolved, and it has evolved. It's evolved quite a bit since we've been using it. I don't see a loss in power. If anything else, I see a lot more power and even easier to do things that you've come up with in the last 2-3 years. Where do you see Lectora going in terms of the future, in terms of where the industry is going, maybe some plans? I didn't have a chance to go to the Lectora user conference this year, but I heard you did a really good demo of the responsive features. I have a friend of mine works in Florida, Dave Lukasik. He's the CTO, CLO, and I think CTO for professional services industries, and he said that was really cool, the responsive part that you showed. Dave does not impress easily, so I was going, that must have been really good. I haven't seen it yet, but imagine that's one of the things that you're focusing on right now. Any other things that you're looking forward to in the future, that where technology will open up even more, or places you see e-learning going?
So certainly responsive design is our focus right now, both on desktop and on an online product. So you're going to see that come out, relatively short fashion. We're going to be having responsive design for both of those. We've actually already rolled out responsive just before the LUC in ReviewLink. So now ReviewLink will be able to work responsively. So if you want to review, you can review on the phone or on the tablet. That's a big part. It's really kind of the first part. We wanted to put it in ReviewLink first, and then be able to produce responsive content from all our authoring tools so that the entire end-to-end from production through review to distribution is responsive. Where we're going after that, we're looking at several things. One of the things we're looking at is product integration, so that better integration between our desktop and our online products, so you can actually seamlessly move online, offline, however you want to go. I think people are looking forward to that a bit more. We've talked about things. One of the up and coming platforms out there is Chromebooks.
Yes,
this is a lot of education, and they're very cool. They're easy to maintain because you can't change a whole lot of things on. It's really just a browser. So, we're looking at that area. There's a lot of ways to go on that. One of the big things that is not being taken advantage of enough these days is Zappy, XAPI, formerly known as Tin Can.
Yep.
And that is something that I see a lot of possibility with. Some of the things that you can do with Zappy, we need the back end of Zappy first. So we need a lot more LMSs to implement Zappy on their side. Once that's done, Zappy is different from SCORM in a lot of ways, but one of the things you can do with it is you can actually not only send data to it, you can get data back from it. So imagine if you put in your course, you ask the student a question, ask them their opinion on something, and on the next page, you can show them how everyone else in the class answered that same question.
That's pretty cool.
You can do that with Zappy. Now, we don't have that baked into Lectora today, but we're looking at it.
Pretty much nobody does. And it's fairly new, and a lot of the LMSs, like you said, don't really support it well, if at all, yet. Most of them don't even support it yet. Look how long. Look, we're still talking SCORM 2004. What year are we in?
Yeah, and mostly SCORM 1.2 1.2, which is from 2000.
That's true. It works. That's because it works better.
Yeah,
to this day. To this day. Now, you said one thing. You said integration. I noticed with third-party integration, you're also you've got that great new integration right now with Lectora 12.1. With the eLearning brothers, with their whole content library, and in fact, we just wrote a blog for you guys, and it was fun because we're playing with that integration, and it worked really well. It's funny, I thought there was a bug in it at first, and it was me. I had my screen at a lower resolution, but this is a good one for your knowledge base. If anybody has their screen at a lower resolution, like I was in 1280 by 720. Because we do a lot of recordings on this machine. And so I keep it to the size that we output to YouTube or Vimeo, which is 720p. But as a result, when I opened the integration window for the eLearning brothers, I couldn't find the download button.
Oh, was it off to the side?
It's off to, well, there was a download text, and we saw that. I go, where's the button? So we're looking vertically, and then three people come into my office. We're all going, and then one of them goes, there's a scroll bar at the bottom.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We move it. It's on the other side. I went, So we felt really stupid. We got people, in tech support going, I don't know. It should work. Everything's working fine. It was us. It was just the size that got us. And now we know. But it worked beautifully. And it's so easy on an internet. We have a fast connection here, but even with a medium or slow connection, you hit it, boom, it's in your Lectora piece.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So we actually run a full copy of the Chromium browser inside of Lectora to do that.
Oh, is that what you're doing? Okay, interesting.
Actually, so we basically at that point we're using the ELB site directly.
Cool.
And we run a full copy of Chromium, but we still have control over it, so we can capture the downloads, capture the different pieces.
That's nice. Yeah.
And also the automatic sign in and all that. So it's really neat. It gives us a lot of possibility for the future. That's another area where we're looking at different options, is other integrations using that same sort of methodology.
Yeah, in fact, we're talking with, next week on the show, we're interviewing Sergey Senetgarev from Branch Track. And he's going to be talking about some of the things he's been doing with Lectora and stuff. And he has a great tool, too, that fits right into Lectora and what it can do. Great for scenario-based branching, tracking. And it's really elegant what he did. Very, very simple.
Sergey was actually the first one that got library objects working. He actually creates library objects directly in his program.
That's cool.
And so he was the first person we worked with. ELB does the same now. They create library objects as well. But he was the first person. He actually contacted us and said he'd like to integrate better. And so we actually went through and worked with him and created a spec so that he could create native Lectora library objects.
That's great.
Yeah,
that's great. And really, if you haven't yet upgraded to Lectora 12.1, or if you haven't even purchased Lectora, this is a really cool integration feature, and it works well. It's real clean. Because it integrates right into your library. Everything you bring in it's just very quick. If you need graphics and you're not a graphic artist, what a quick way to integrate it. And the eLearning brothers have also integrated some of the other stuff from audio blocks and video blocks. So you've got a lot of really cool stuff in there in their library, but nice stuff. And it's very clean. That's
a lot of the power I think that you get from their library is not only obviously the images are great, but then they have the interactions where you have multi-class. So you have some of these that are like 10 pages of content. Each page has actions and objects and text and things that can be replaced, but all of it comes down as a single piece. It can be integrated directly in one shot. So if you think about how that would be outside of you'd have to download that as a zip file, unzip all the pieces, import all the pieces in. No, none of that. You just hit download. Boom, goes right in.
And with Lectora, not only that, when you get some of the interaction objects, you can modify them any way you want afterwards.
Right.
So now they're on your pages, or they're in a page, and you have access to every single one of the objects, which makes you want to change the color? No problem. You want to change the functionality a little bit? No problem. And that's what we really like. We're looking at it from what typical programmers will look at it going, hey, that's pretty cool. What can we do with it? Ooh, we can actually do everything with it. So that was nice the way they created it, and the way it integrates into Lectora as literally page and objects within the page. You've got everything in there. So that's nice. It's not a black box like most things. You actually have the ability to make it a little bit better or just change it.
And for those who really want to delve into it, they also actually supply the original either Photoshop or Illustrator files that you can actually, if you're an artist, you don't need it. I had the question, some people thought they would need it.
Yeah.
You don't require it. But if you really want to go in and work with the layers and work with the images, you can actually get down the original Photoshop or Illustrator files and change those for you too.
Yeah, that comes in real handy if you need to brand a course, or you want to brand the content exactly the way the company wants it. That's perfect.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's perfect. So integration is definitely one of the things that you're looking at, and we're seeing examples of that right now in 12.1 where it's working well. Just I'm sure you're getting good feedback on that, but from our point of view, as we've started working on it, it's working pretty darn well. And I'll tell you something, John. One of the things that we've done in the past, we've had to do a lot of Flash conversions. People say, we've got a Flash piece, the vendor's disappeared, we don't have the code, can you convert this? And we say, sure. We have two secret weapons. We have Flash decompilers, which let us decompile all the Flash and get most of the objects out of it. And we have Lectora. And Lectora, we have converted quite a few complex Flash pieces into Lectora, and in a pretty short time. And the customer's going, how'd you do that? It's magic. and then, of course, when we deploy, we use Lectora, which also really did an awful lot of help for that. And also, we have kind of a parameter. If we work with any of the other authoring tools, and they're 30 slide courses and they're really small, depending on what they need, we'll probably do it in another tool. We'll do it in Lectora. It just depends what the customer wants. If they're bigger courses, we just say, look, this really doesn't work that well in this tool. You're going to have navigation issues. Changes are going to be more difficult. With Lectora, boom, quick, easy. We don't have to do a ton of compiling. We don't have to do, it just works. And so, and navigation is the bane of our existence on some of the other tools. Things don't work well. They don't navigate well. You've got to code every button by hand, things like that. That's just a waste. With Lectora, we have the ability to pretty much do what we want to do. And we've done complex conversions. In Lectora, they actually became pretty easy. And the customers are just sitting there with their eyes open going, really? Really? Yep, magic.
And we didn't have to write any code to do it, just a few actions.
No code. We didn't do just some actions. Yeah. No code at all. I mean, we didn't even have to go into, do we have to go into JavaScript? No, maybe here and there. The only thing we do sometimes, and that's not really JavaScript, we'll go into Lectora and modify a variable for LMS functions. Right. And that in itself is priceless. If you do any kind of development on an LMS, this is for all you people out there watching, LMSs for the most part don't work all that well. There are exceptions. And we'll talk about CourseMill in later shows, and I like CourseMill a lot. And then other tools like Litmus, which are fairly easy to use, they don't cause a lot of problems. And then you have the big vendors. Oh, God, it's bad. It's just bad out there. But with
No, which is
Lectora, you
different.
can do things you can't do with the other tools easily, and that's change your CMI variables, your course management variables. If you need to set a value to complete it, or comp, or C, or whatever that particular, and you don't know how to do it, it's easy in Lectora. And that's one of the things we love about it. We have never yet met a database that daunted us with Lectora. Not one. I mean, some of them are really crappy out there. We've managed to deploy on every single one with barely a bead of sweat on us. Whereas with some of the other ones, it's been not
Right.
good.
And that's where our history really helped us out, because starting out at the time we did, the LMSs back then were even much more varied than how they were.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had to be able to support this, just people who were doing it completely different from one another. I mean, we started out scoring 1.0
Yeah.
days. And literally until recently, we still published in scoring 1.0. We allowed for it anyway. And so having that history gave us that potential to do that. We knew what it was like having all these different formats out there.
Yeah, that was good. It's really good. So from those point of views, aside from actually using the product and liking it, there's a lot of reasons why we like it and we do use it, because it just works. And those kind of things, LMS integration is pretty key. And we've been called into many situations to fix other vendors' issues because they know how to create maybe an e-learning course, but they don't know how to deploy it. You'd be surprised how many times we've had to deploy courses for other people, and I'm just going, wow, it's not that hard. But they just don't understand how it ties into it. And, the LMSs, even though they're quote-unquote SCORM or AICC, that doesn't mean they're actually totally 100% compatible.
Yeah. Yes.
There's a lot of, unfortunately, when they developed the standard, I wish they had actually standardized it a little more strictly, because like the completion code is a typical one. You can say complete, you can say comp, you can say uppercase C, lowercase c, but not all databases look for every one of those. And the
Right.
authoring tools may vary in how they write it out. And if you don't have ability to change, that is a real show killer, if you will. Because at the end, when you want to get paid and you can't deploy it, you're in trouble.
Right.
So that's another reason we like Lectora, because it does save us from inconsistencies within the different LMSs. Now, were you also involved in the course mill product in terms of?
Yeah, at the beginning, when we started out, we were relatively small. So the team all worked on course mill for a while. Not as much lately. The course mill is done by another team. We've grown to a point now. We have another team on that. But definitely during its beginning and its first few versions, up to probably about version 5 of course mill.
Okay. And course mill also, we're going to get into that later on in one of the shows. It's a great learning management system. It's one of my favorites, if not my favorite, because it's, again, easy to use, clear. It has an interface we can read, which is nice. I mean, readable interfaces really do help sometimes. And most of the users we know on it, well, one of the guys we know on it is Dr. Dave from PSI, and he's been through 3 LMSs. We sold him the first one he used, and it was a good one, but it didn't quite meet all his needs at the end. Then he went through a couple of others, and he's now on CourseMill, and he's actually going, I like it. Again, Dr. Dave liking something, that's impressive. I mean, he's fussy. He knows what he wants, and he's sharp, and he knows how to get around things. It's a good LMS. You guys have done a good job on that one, too. In a world where LMSs don't get a lot of kudos, I'd say you guys did a great job on it.
Well, thanks. Yeah, it's a little bit smaller. It's a little bit lighter. It's easier to work with and install.
Well, it's easier to administer in terms of setting up a course. It's just very clear. And that's what I like about it, the clarity it has. Now, you brought up something interesting earlier. You said that you think maybe because originally Lectora had kind of a Windows interface, it actually kind of looked like Office in the old days, like Office 7 maybe,
Right.
2007, which I didn't mind. I thought it was great because every single icon was right in the first page. So, programmer, I like, just throw me 100 icons, I'm good.
Right. That's probably where the whole hard to use thing came from, because we stuck to that for a while because a lot of our users liked it. But
interesting. But now with the more PowerPoint-like interface, and it's not exactly PowerPoint, but it's close in a lot of ways. It's very easy to figure out where things are. Whereas before it was more, the modality was you had to do a pop-up and then work your way around a lot of tabs. Now it's pretty easy to just go to the top, boom, and you have everything pretty much at your fingertips. So I could see where people do like that. My programmer side says, give me 100 icons. The other side says, yeah, I can see for users this is easier. They're more used to that format.
Yeah, we tried to come out with some things like the slide out tabs on the right. That was something that's, I think, still unique to us. But now you see it in Windows. They've now got slide out tabs from the right in Windows.
That's true. That's true.
They copied us on that one.
Actually, Windows 10, I had a little note to ask you about this. When Windows 10 comes out, will Lectora be fully compatible with it?
Yes, I have Lectora running on a copy of Windows 10 in the other room.
Okay,
so
great.
Absolutely. Yeah, we obviously have to keep an eye on all that stuff coming up. But now I'm still waiting on the Edge browser, which is the new browser that's going to be in there.
Have you seen it yet?
I have not. It is not in their latest technical preview.
I've seen a couple people show some stuff on it, or I don't think they're mock-ups. It looks like the beta version, or maybe even alpha. It looks interesting. Right. I mean,
yeah, I've seen it on videos. I haven't touched it, if you will. How's that? I haven't. They haven't given it to us yet, but we'll get it soon, and I'm looking forward to it. Yet another Microsoft browser to support, but
yeah. Gotta love it. I think they're coming out in July. That's what they're claiming right now. That's going to be the release date.
That's pretty
aggressive.
Pretty aggressive, yeah. But they need to be aggressive, so that's good. Looking forward to it. They're actually going to make the Edge browser the default browser for. So that should make a big change. Once they'll still have IE on there, but you'll actually consciously have to make a decision to get to it.
Interesting.
So I think
also the nice thing about that, from what I've been reading, is that the Edge browser is also going to be the browser across every platform they support.
Yes.
So for everyone, that's going to make life a lot easier.
I think so. I would hope so.
I'm one of those people. I actually kind of like Windows 8.1. I didn't like 8 that much, but 8.1 I think is kind of clean, and it's not bad. You can get to everything you need pretty quickly. It's a nice look. Windows 10 looks like it'll be even nicer with the way they combined Metro with kind of a Windows 7-ish kind of look. I'm on Windows 7 on this machine, and I'm actually hating it now. I still love Windows 7. I like the look of 8.1 better. I think it handles graphics better. The engines, even though in benchmarks it's all the same, it handles graphics better. I noticed an improvement in the last version, from 12 on so far. Lectora seems to have gotten even faster. Did you guys make any major changes to the compiling, or because it deploys? It just seems a lot quicker. Or maybe our machines are a lot faster now, but it really seems to move a lot faster.
So what we did, version 11 was, we had a two-part release between that. We were really trying to improve the ease of use and the speed, the modernness of the application. So in version 11, you can look at it like it was a car, and we changed the body. We changed the body, the dashboard, the steering wheel. Everything was a little bit different to use, but the engine was still the same. Version 12, we pulled out the engine and transmission and put a brand new one in.
Okay, because it feels like it.
Yeah. So what you're seeing is a completely different thing. One of the biggest parts of it's HTML runtime, so that when you, even just going into run mode, clicking on the run mode button, it's all HTML and fine. And we're publishing on the fly.
Interesting, and it's instant.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Most people did not realize that it's HTML, but you can find it out if you throw a little JavaScript in there or a web window. They're all running in there. That all works. So.
Yeah, that's nice. So so there was a major overhaul because it just feels really fleet. I mean, it wasn't slow before. It just feels a lot faster now.
Yeah, it's a very different thing, and that also gives a much better rendering engine. Again, we're using that Chromium rendering engine underneath the cover, so everything renders faster. Your shadows, your shapes, everything's vector-based shapes now.
Yep. Okay, now I've been holding off to the end because we're almost at the end of the show. I have to razz you about one thing.
All right,
it's always one, right? On the page transitions, fade. We need a dissolve. For some odd reason, there's no dissolve on the page transition. Only on the all the objects that dissolve beautifully now, but not the pages.
I think the last time we did this, you asked for a feature, but you notice we gave you that feature.
You gave me, but now I want another one.
Now you want it? Okay, all right. We'll pen that down.
Page, because then we can have him really look like a movie.
All right.
It would be such a cool, because right now, I'll take a fade to black or a fade. Any one of those would be just beautiful. Because then as we go from slide to slide, there's no possibility of screen shifting, anything else, or it's just very smooth. The transitions right now are a little more difficult. I tend not to use a transition just to keep it more, because the objects now all fade in. But page, but in some cases, a page or slide transition would be much cleaner. So that's my moment of begging for you right now. It's just one more fade.
We're on record.
I'm on record. Yeah, but other than that, it's a minor nit. So no real complaints other than that. And yeah, everything else is working well. The Inspire toolkit is clean. We use Snagit. I mean, we're using all the tools before Inspire, but a lot of people don't. So for the people who don't, it's a great addition to have the Camtasia, which is fun. And Camtasia does a great job. Goes right in, and you don't have to worry about it. It's clean. Snagit is a great tool with the eLearning Brothers integration. Again, a nice additional feature. It just worked really well, and it was funny because at the show when I saw you last at Learning Solutions 2015, we had just bought. They had that show special. Like, let's go get their integration. We hadn't really used their tools before. We have a whole mess of other tools, but we never used theirs. And we go, that's a good price. It was like $500, so we bought it then at the show. And then when we got the Inspire upgrade, went, oh, shoot. All right. Oh well. But it was still cool. It's just really nice the way that whole thing was integrated. No, I'd say on the whole, everything right now in 12.1 is working well. It's clean, it's fast, and we're always excited about what you come up with next. And if you're wondering, you and I had a good laugh at this. We both have the Moto 360 watches. And I'm thinking of getting. I'm almost. Have you seen the new Watch Urbane from LG?
I have.
I've got my eyes on that one. It looks nice. And there's another one I saw, Kogito or Kogito. I think it's a Chinese one. It's gorgeous, but it's funky. It has a lot of buttons on it, so you have to do everything with buttons. But it has a beautiful watch look. So anyway, but I like the my Moto. It's My wife has her eyes on it. She goes, as soon as you're done, I want it. So she can't find. They don't have women's watches like these. They're all men's.
Don't. Yeah.
I guess
depends on the band you put on it, maybe.
No, it's the size of because this is 42 millimeters, I think, or 44. It's pretty big.
Yeah.
I like big watches, but for her, she goes, that's kind of pretty big, and it's bigger than I even want it. So I don't know. The Pebble. She looked at the Pebble and it looks really cheap, so didn't do it for her. Well, John, we've been going for about 45, 50 minutes right now. So, yeah, about 50 minutes. Thank you so much for taking the time on this. We really appreciate it. And we'll probably have you back on again, I'm sure. And I know we've got schedules to have Daryl on and Tara, Laura Silver, and all sorts of other people from your group. So we're going to have a fun time interviewing all of them. We've got clients that are going to be coming on to be interviewed, as well as some members of the, I guess, Lectora Advisory Board and other things. So we're going to have a lot more people on next week. Like I said, it's Sergey Snektarev. He's going to be on talking about branch track and how you can do branching simulations and interactions right within Lectora.
Awesome. Well, hey, thank you, Rick. It was great being here, and I can't wait to come back and talk
No, I appreciate it. So for all of you watching the show, you're going to see a little thumbs up and a thumbs down underneath it. We don't look at the thumbs down. Just look at the thumbs up. Give us a thumbs up and say you liked it. If you don't like it, we understand. You can keep that quiet, but we won't say anything. And subscribe, because if you don't subscribe, you won't know what we're doing, and we want you to know. So we will see you all next week on Lectora Live, your inside track into Lectora. Thanks, everyone. Bye, John.
Bye, guys.